We out here just driving along. Got to pick up some gym equipment, man. Do some shit at home, a little different. But I think, today what I was thinking about really, I think, comes down to the fact of saying sorry and getting yourself into bad situations. I was reading up and watching something the other day that really made me kind of think a lot about what we do in regard to, if we get in trouble, if you upset somebody, if you upset yourself, you get into a bad situation, what have you. And, the biggest problem is that we always look at it and then we go, well, I'm sorry, always apologizing. And the biggest thing that comes down to a lot of that is, number one, words don't mean shit. Let's be real. How many times have we made a mistake and we were like, well, I'm sorry, and, I feel bad, and whatever. That's fine. You can say you're sorry, but do those words actually accompany with action? Because that's a huge difference maker. If you're always getting in trouble or you're doing something and you're saying sorry, really, you're not that sorry. And then it honestly just becomes cheap. I'm pretty big on looking at things a certain way where anymore, don't say sorry. If you say something stupid, you upset somebody, oh well. Yeah, I meant it. I meant it at the time. You may not mean it now. You may say, well, that's how I felt at the time due to my feelings or my emotions or my thought process. And that's all right. Everybody is entitled to different types of thinking. That's just a huge part of who we are as a society or as people or as relationships or friendships. Sometimes you just feel certain ways and you get upset. And not all the time do we even know how to communicate how we feel. I'm super guilty that when I'm upset or I feel a certain way, I'll revert back to bad thinking from the culture I grew up in and where I'm from, and I'll honestly 100% think the negative. No question. Well, you're out doing this, you're out acting like this, or you're trying to stab me in the back, you're trying to take what's mine, you're trying to steal from me, anything to anybody, you're trying to, make it seem like I don't know what I'm doing, you're dogging me out, anything. At the end of the day, that's where my thought process goes, and I get so internally upset that it comes out, and it may look like anger, or it may look like I don't believe in things, or I'm not a good person with stuff. Really, it's just the communication that I have is good in some ways, but verbalizing emotions or showing emotions the correct way isn't. And that can sometimes get you in trouble when you kind of just say what you want, you act the way you want in the time, and you think that that's going to get you somewhere, when in reality it really doesn't. All it's going to do is get you into situations you don't want to be in, and then instead of trying to say, well, I'm sorry, and apologize your way out of it, you got to just say to yourself, I messed up. All right, I got to do better next time. And it's important to realize that there is not always a next time. And I think that's the biggest problem with a lot of us. We don't really understand that there is not always a next time. So as you might feel that, I should be forgiven or whatever, that's not always the case. There are certain things you do that you don't deserve to be forgiven for from people around us. Now, I'm not talking about on the religious level. Obviously, the man upstairs, he gonna forgive us regardless. You shouldn't be abusing that. That's not what I mean. But, obviously, he forgave you for everything. So the spiritual portion is what it is. But if you don't follow that spiritual portion into what you're doing through your life, then you're just gonna keep messing up. The biggest thing is when you get yourself into a situation, realizing that you're in that situation, and in all honesty, recognizing that and being like, all right, I'm going to do better, but I'm not going to just say it. You're going to actually make the differences, even if it's small steps. I used to be close to somebody, and they would always say that, you kind of reach milestones every so often. It's all about reaching milestones. You know, yeah, you look like you was on a path. I wasn't sure, and then you reach that milestone. And that's important because it shows progress. Now, your progress may not be what everybody else wants your progress to be, or that other person wants it to be, or you yourself don't think that you're progressing. Sometimes you got to sit down and be like, all right, let me go over everything, how I am, how I used to live, what have you. Am I any different than that? Okay. And if you are, then so be it. Great. Then you're doing a great job. But you also have to be humble enough to admit, man, I'm messing up. Yeah, I ain't changing like I should. That's also a big deal. And kind of to roll back into the whole like apologizing thing, I feel after really kind of concentrating on myself and things in life, you look at things and you say to yourself, well, somebody probably told me in that immediate timeline, hey, you're messing up. Hey, you gotta change up. Switch it up. And you were like, nah, I'm good. I got this. I'm stronger than your opinion. I'm stronger than your views. I'm stronger than what's coming to me, what's about to burden my life. I'm stronger than all of that. And well, you know what the result is almost all the time. You kind of see what happens is that you ain't. And it crushes the shit out of you. And at the end of the day, you don't have anybody else to blame but yourself. And I think that's one of the biggest things. You can attribute things to if your friends do you wrong, but you kind of did things that warranted it in the way of you made them feel like you were able to be wronged because you were doing wrong. Sometimes that also occurs. An eye for an eye is never good because it just makes people blind at the end of the day. But it happens. The biggest issue is understanding that if you get yourself into a bad situation, you got to own it. That's the biggest thing. In my lifetime, when I was younger, I got in trouble before. I was on probation for a while when I was in high school. It was nothing big, but, being dumb and stupid, right? So the issue is that I could have easily been like most of the people in my culture because, I was hanging out with, let's just call it as it is, man. Real drug dealers, real badass people that really kill people. That's what it is. And I used to think that, man, like I like this life. That's what I want to do. That's what I want to be around. And then you start to realize that when you get good at other stuff, such as sports or whatever, it's tough to kind of balance both of them. Now you see people professionally, but that's like a little bit different. And you say to yourself, yeah, all right, I want to live that life until you really get in that life. As in you start getting in trouble. You start realizing that the system, man, it labels you quick. I got lucky. I served my time and got off it and it abolished it because of it. And I got lucky, but could have stayed on there. When I go to colleges and stuff, it'll be on there. Could have been on my records. Some of it did stay in my high school record for behavioral wise because it was kind of both attributed. So, that is a thing. You get locked into that system. You start realizing you can't get your probation hours. You can't do whatever. So then you want to start blaming everybody else. Oh, the system holds me down. It's their fault. Nah, man. It's your fault at the end of the day. It's not hard to live. It's not hard to live good if you just kind of do it out the gate, When you start to kind of live badly and you don't realize it, it becomes a little bit tougher because now you got to change your way of thinking. But you got to own it, So when I got in trouble, I kept chilling with them people for a little bit, and then I started realizing, like, damn, man, I'm getting good at sports. I like sports. I want to play sports. I can't be playing sports if I got to check in with my probation officer all the time and curfews and traveling and this and that. How's that going to work? In my mind, I started to realize that that's not really the way to go. So I started to really think and be like, all right, I need to switch up, So, and that's kind of what I did. I didn't say sorry to myself. I didn't say sorry to anybody else. My mom, I knew she was upset with me being that kind of life, raised by a single mom that would beat the shit out of you if you did some shit like that. She's not stupid. She gonna raise you right. you know, and that's just what it is. Like, there is no, you can't mess up if you got one person raising you that does so well. That's just, you look dumb, you know? So I think it's important to recognize that instead of really apologizing or feeling bad and stuff, you kind of just were like, all right, I'm going to switch it up. And that's what I did. You know, it took some time, but I kept going. You know, I haven't really been in trouble really since then, you know, in that kind of sense. And it's because I kind of owned up, man. I could have kept living that way, and I didn't. Or if you're upset with somebody, instead of spouting off at the mouth, or if you do, don't say sorry, just make it up. You know, say, hey, you know, I was wrong. If I hurt your feelings, it is what it is. I'll make it better, you know, or make it right. Not by buying gifts or acting a certain way or helping your people out and, you know, whatever. Nah, like legitimately being a different person. That's the difference, is owning what you're supposed to own to get through that as a better person. So it's kind of what I was thinking about, you know, a little bit this week. I got a couple more different topics, but you know, I just think that do not say sorry all the time. That shit becomes cheap. Don't. Because at the end of the day, words don't mean shit. Be about it every day. Your actions always have to speak louder than your words. As cliche as that sounds, it's 100% true. Be better. Every day, no matter what. Be better.